Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our series on psychological safety. Still not in the same place today. We're going to be talking about curiosity and learning and what role do they play in teams in general. Hi.
Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, wherever you are, whatever time it is.
And so we don't have an exact agenda what we want to talk to you about. We just wanted to let you know how we ended up at the topic, what we feel is important from the point of view of learning, and what we have learned by using the software and working with teams. Just why is learning that big of a deal, Fionn?
Well, with a lot of the work with teams and a lot of work that Amy Edmondson has done, what she discovered is that a team and a group of people that have a really strong appetite for learning, a really strong learning culture, who have what she calls a learning organization, are more successful and more productive. So, for example, there's a piece of work that she's done around framing projects for teams to be their most successful. And there are several elements, but the final one that she talks about, and one that should be consistent across all teams, whatever their project is framing a project for learning in that team. So if everybody understands what their individual learning opportunity is for a piece of work, and if the team understands how they're going to learn together, people are many more times more inspired and engaged and motivated to stick with that project long term. So it gets them through the tough times and the dips, as well as keeping them, really, really highly engaged when things are going fantastically.
It's a really interesting topic, I feel, because it, of course, stems from different sets of expectation education-wise. People come from very different backgrounds, from different cultures. Their attitude towards acquiring more knowledge are very different. Some people remain curious during adulthood. Others are happy to stop accumulating at the same speed as they would have done during their school years. And then there's the entire topic of, do we learn digitally in a different way than we used to do when we were sat in a library? Do we need to consume information in the same way? And how do we share it? So all of those things are obviously very different these days, which is why continuous learning is such a big topic on everyone's agenda. Obviously, if there was a way that we could both accumulate and share information fast enough and effectively enough, then we'd have flying teams. But I think it's really fascinating to work out whether or not learning is a key part of being psychologically safe. And I think what's interesting there is the reason we have learning or curiosity as one of the components in the software is because we stop to think, yes, it's a desirable behavior of a team, but does it make a difference to them being psychologically safe together? Are teams who don't learn together, yet they are psychologically safe? And I think the jury is out. We don't have yet enough data to necessarily decide on that, but we do believe that learning, so that's our working thesis, that learning brings people together in a different way than working methods would.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there is definitely a link, a clear link that you can see through the research that has been done, although, as you say, the kind of jury's out on a final figure perhaps. But if a team has that open environment, that safe, psychologically safe environment, and they have that passionate appetite to learn together as a result, and they feel safe enough to be able to fail repeatedly, learn from that failure together, then I think the two things come together very closely. So you've got a team that wants to learn, and in order to be able to have that really excellent learning environment, they need to feel safe to learn together, and safe to be vulnerable with each other, to be open with each other, and to be safe with each other. So that's where I see the link.
I think it's fascinating to think of the connection between learning and failing as a culture, and also how that plays out at the top. Because we stop to think about it, the appetite for learning, we see that it's sometimes diminishing the higher up the organization you go, which is sad, but it's an effect of the fact that management structures become a lot more competitive. People do a lot more impression management. They never want to appear like they don't know anything. So as a result, they have trouble communicating they're learning anything, and eventually trouble learning anything at all. So
Yeah.
it's a vicious circle of impression management that this allows, I find, leaders sometimes to continue their education, whereas in some types of industries and at some types of teams levels, that learning is inbuilt in the way that they function together. I mean, we won't see developer teams who don't learn anything, because there is no way to be coding unless you're continuously learning, but there's plenty of way to be doing accounting without learning much at all.
Yeah.
Apologies to the accountants listening to us.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, absolutely. I think you know, when curiosity is really, truly, honestly built into a culture, and we're working with a very dynamic pharmaceutical that we're speaking to at the moment, who have curiosity at the core of their culture. You know, if you really work hard to build that in, then you can build something really innovative, forward thinking, but also very robust and resilient as well, because you've got that curiosity in your culture. Lots of leaders talk about curiosity having been the quality that has brought them so far on their journey. Maybe we question how many of them really truly continue to role model that, but certainly it's a word that comes up a lot when you're talking to leaders about how they've gotten to where they've got to.
Really complex topic. We'd love to hear from you guys. There's also the relationship between being curious for knowledge that's very 1 and 0, whereas there's loads to be learned in terms of being curious on emotions and how others feel, being open-hearted curious versus being just informationally curious. Do you learn with your teammates? Do you learn individually? Do you share any of that knowledge? Does that make you feel more psychologically safe? Because of course,
great point.
The more psychologically safe you are, then obviously the more performant you are. So get in touch with us and tell us how you feel about learning and curiosity in general, and if you feel we should be measuring it in conjunction with psychological safety. And we'll see you next week.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.